Welcome to The Grow Show, powered by Steel. On The Grow Show, we share ideas, tips, tactics, and insights to help you grow your landscaping business based on our team's 40 years of experience running a landscaping company and working with other owners and their teams to do the same. New episodes are released weekly on Wednesdays. Without further ado, here's your host, Marty Grunder.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. This is Marty Grunder from Grunder Landscaping Company and the Grow Group with another exciting edition of the Grow Show powered by Steel. Today, we're going to talk to my friend Jason Cromley. Give a wave, Jason, the owner of Hidden Creek Landscaping in Columbus, Ohio, and the host of Grow 2025. But first, a reminder, you can get the latest edition of the Grow Show delivered to your phone, tablet, or computer by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch us on YouTube for an enhanced learning experience. The Grow Show is the greatest thing since Property Intel. Property Intel is a plugin that works with Aspire, the industry-specific software that we run at Grunder Landscaping Company. And this incredible tool enables us to measure and propose work on residential and commercial properties with ease and accuracy. What used to take us hours to do now takes minutes. I remember when I started, ladies and gentlemen, you would measure what you could, and in the end, sometimes you'd kind of just give up and guess it. Property Intel takes all the guesswork away, and we're producing snow removal and maintenance estimates in minutes instead of hours. Go to youraspire.com for more details. Now on to the Grow Show, powered by Steel. Jason Cromley, my man, how are you?
Couldn't be better. Love a Friday.
Fridays are good. It's a good Friday. We're recording this. Who the Buckeyes have this weekend?
We got a bye this week, as a matter of fact. So,
bye. So you get to maybe play golf on Saturday. I should have called you.
There's still time.
So there is still time. We're going to be at your place in Columbus, February 2025, and it's going to be an incredible show. You were going to get to show off your facility, your operation, your culture. But what I'm really excited to show off is you and your team. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jason.
So I grew up right here in Columbus, Ohio, attended The Ohio State University with a degree in landscape horticulture, minor in landscape architecture, and minor in construction management. Never lived more than 7 miles from the hospital I was born. I love this city. I'll never leave it. It's got a ton of potential, and it's kind of given me the ability to get to know this entire city because I've never left it. So I love recruiting for what we do, both to bring on people to work for us and also to bring on clients that I've just made good relationships with.
Tell us about your family.
So I'm very fortunate. I have a boy and a girl. My son is currently a junior at Boston College. He's actually making his way. He's in Milan right now for a study abroad that we're going to.
Well, that's just terrible. How is he surviving?
Financially through his mother and his father. But smart kid. He's actually spent 7 summers with me, Marty, working at the company. And of all things, at college, I said, go get a job. It's time to earn a little bit. And of course, he gets a job on the landscape crew working for Boston College.
Oh my gosh.
Loving every minute of it. So he's doing really well. And then I have a senior in high school, my daughter, and we're currently looking at different colleges. Both of my kids said I would love to leave Ohio. And I said, that's great because we'll welcome you back with open arms when the time comes. So we're checking out some colleges for her currently.
And what does your wife do, Jason?
She currently is an oncology nurse, and she has been since she graduated college. She is my high school sweetheart. Really, she's pretty much trained me since high school on how to be a good husband, a good man, and I listen to her wisely. She also works for us 1 day a week. She is one of our activities coordinator, and she helps with uniforms, some of our monthly company events, our reviews, all kinds of things. So she's a huge asset here. But she said 1 day a week is just about enough to handle me.
I hear you. I understand. Jason, Vince often comments that you and I are dangerous together. Your drive and motivation is off the charts. I'm not sure that I've come across anyone that's more committed to winning as you are. I mean, you're just a guy that, in the past couple of years, as we've gotten to know each other, you're in one of our peer groups. There's challenges when you run a landscaping company. And I really, truly, sincerely enjoy talking to you because you're what I would define as a survivor. Like, you're not going to let whatever bad news is out there get you. Like, you're just going to plow through it. Where does that drive and that motivation come from?
That's a great question, and it's a personal question. So I'm just going to kind of get into it because I believe that the listeners deserve that. And to be honest, I've I've seen that and heard that from a lot of other podcasts I've listened to over the years. So unfortunately, I lost my father 23 years ago, and he had a big drive as well too. Everyone in my family so far has pretty much been an entrepreneur, and my grandfather, great grandfather started it. My grandfather, my dad, and it's kind of one of those things that if you're going to be successful, be your own boss. And so my dad was, adamant about that, and so was my grandfather, and they liked landscaping because it had great opportunity to be your own owner. And I started the company up while I was still in college with my business partner, Matt Seiler, who a lot of you guys are going to get to meet. Great compliment to who I am and my personality. And my dad really enjoyed Matt and liked me, but was always worried that I wasn't serious enough and that I maybe just couldn't handle owning my own business. And I wasn't great with money. And I had a lot of fun in college. And he just was worried that I wasn't going to be able to take care of things. And he unfortunately passed 6 months before my wedding. We had just started the company 3 years prior, but I had a great work ethic. So I could work hard. The question was, because I work hard and also make good decisions. How much time am I going to spend in the trench versus eventually getting out of it? And, as the company started to be successful every single year, we kept having success and having success, but it's blood, sweat, and tears in the beginning, as every owner knows. And eventually I started to progress into a little bit different of a type of role where I started seeing that there was more success in the office than there was in the field for me every day. And I think it was after about maybe 7, 8 years, my wife looked at me and she goes, "So is this a job or is this a career? Because we got 2 kids. We want them to go to good schools. We want them to go to Catholic schools. It's going to cost us a lot of money. So what are we doing here?" And it was kind of at that moment that I kind of, looked up above and said, "All right, Dad, time to get serious here." So we went after it. And each and every single year, I got people above me who looking down on me, and I've got something to prove. And for some reason or another, no matter what I achieve, it's never been enough. Um, an optimist to a fault, I've been told, because every day I get up, I'm like, well, I woke up, so it's a pretty good day. I don't see how it can get worse. So I'm always believing in everybody around me as well too. I believe everybody should push themselves to be better, and be kind to everybody along the way, believe it or not. But I'm not easy to be around either, Marty. I believe when someone says it can't be done, I don't like the word can't. I don't like the word I hope the client says yes. I try to take away all the no's from people as much as possible and try to get to that. Just keep pushing, just keep believing.
A funny story that I think you'll appreciate. I have a mentor. Her name is Pam Morris, and she's the retired former CEO of a company here in town called CareSource. I won the Regional Entrepreneur of the Year from Ernst & Young back in 2002. In 2016 or 17, Pam was named the Ernst & Young National Entrepreneur of the Year. And I loved talking to her. I loved talking to her because she was a female leader in a industry dominated by men. She's a wonderful person, still is a wonderful person. And so we were having lunch in the company cafeteria, and she said, and this is what makes me think of you. She said, "Marty," she said, "you're definitely a type A personality. I mean, there's just no question. Like, you just don't stop, do you?" And I said, "Well, no, not really. Jason Cromley doesn't stop either, by the way." She said, "Let me ask you something." She said, "Do your people ever say that you expect too much, that you're too demanding, that, you have unrealistic expectations?" And I said, "Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that even from my family sometimes." She's like, "Yep, I hear that too." She's like, "So what's your response to that when somebody offers that up as a criticism of you?" And I said, "Pam, I guess I just kind of like, I mean, I sort of listen to it, but I just kind of shrug it off. I don't really have an answer. I've never really answered like, you're wrong, or I don't have an answer. Sorry." She said, "Well, you know what my answer is?" And I said, "What's your answer?" She said, "I tell them somebody around here better think like that." And as I'm listening to you, you're reminding me of Pam and her thoughts on motivation and drive. Now, there was something that you said that I think to me tells me about Jason Cromley. You said, "Be nice." And I think that's the difference. Like, we have responsibilities as leaders to push and to ask and to be demanding. but it's not what we say, it's how we say it. Does that resonate with you? And if it does, how so?
It does. I've watched sports enough along my timeline, right? And there's times I'd love to be the coach on the sideline who's just screaming at the top of his lungs to make sure his offensive line heard
Yeah.
him, or grabbing the
Right.
player by his
Right.
face mask, just ripping right into him. I'm pretty sure that's not allowed in the office, right? But that is the emotion that's inside of me, right? That's what is wanting to come out. But, we're in a different environment, obviously. It's not a battlefield. We're in the relationship business. We cut grass, we build cool things, but this is just relationships. And the longer that you can establish a relationship with both your clients and your team, the longer you have an opportunity to really get to know each other and really maximize each other to the biggest benefit. So,
Oh my gosh. I think everyone listening to the Grow Show right now should hit stop. They should rewind 30 seconds. That's gold, but you just talked about. And I think you're right. I think sometimes, Jason, people like you are maybe misunderstood. I mean, you are go, 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 but I also know you have a heart. I know what you do for the community. I know what you do for people. I know the success stories you have in your business. I just, what you're saying is awesome, and it's great medicine. Nothing worthwhile in life was ever, most things in life that were worthwhile weren't given to you. You had to go get them done, like what you've done.
and it's true. And I was talking with someone the other day. They're like, "Wow, you're so lucky." And I'm like,
Oh
you know
gosh.
what? I've created a lot of opportunities that luck can present itself.
Yes.
Absolutely. There
Yeah.
is some luck. We all know it. A good snowstorm when, you're not going to make payroll, man,
Yeah. Right.
that's luck, right? That's me
Yeah.
sitting back saying, I hope it snows. But I can't sit back and say, man, I really hope this client says yes. It's like I did everything possible to close this deal. I did everything that our process says. I got to know the client. So we don't create luck. We definitely create opportunities. And you got to be nice to the right people, but you got to be firm and fair at the same time too when you are coaching your people. So, to your and I's
Oh,
point,
I
sometimes
I love I love what you're saying. I'm going to make sure my son gets this. He listens to the Grow Show. Hopefully, he's listening to this episode. But I'm going to text it to him when it comes out, because what you just said it's a great lesson. If I don't know someone and they tell me I'm lucky, I say, yeah, I am lucky. If you were to tell me I'm lucky, given the level of friendship we have, I'd be like, Jason, really? You think I'm lucky? I mean, let me tell you what I did this week. Okay, now I improved my chances greatly by the work I did, but I didn't just run into all this. And I think sometimes people don't realize that. I mean, there's a lot of things cooking. I'm quite sure that when you get home tonight, you're going to work some more tonight. It may just be emails. It may be looking at some bills. It may be following up. It may be preparing for the big sales call you have tomorrow on Saturday, right? So it's all about that. Now, let's move into the brand. The brand has always been important to you, but it's evolved over time. What was the turning point for you with Hidden Creek? Why didn't you name the company Cromley's? A lot of people listening here and watching us on YouTube, they're thinking about the chicken and the egg. Do I get the projects and then do I go spend money on a brand and reflect that? Or do I update my brand and then go get the big projects? You're a branding expert, if you ask me. Talk to us about that.
so obviously, like all landscape companies, doesn't matter what size you are, right? You had to start at the bottom. Most landscape companies are owner operators, and we have great degrees in horticulture, or we've been mowing for years and we kind of just get it. There's not a lot of us who were quote unquote business majors in school. And the branding thing kind of came out of me after so many years where it was just fun. I'll be honest, I don't like to read books, and I read a ton of books because that's what I needed to do to grow the business. And that branding became a pretty big part of who we are. And it was starting to discover how we had to look different. And what I was really trying to work at the time, call it 15 years ago, was how do we look like a big company, even though we're, a $3 million company? But I had to look like the people in my neighborhood. Brickman was here, Davy was here. The big companies were in town. So you know what? Everyone's in uniform every single day. All trucks have to look the same. No more magnets. And we started to put the money to the point, what was first, the chicken or the egg? You have to have enough money to afford this, but you really have to budget enough to say, my brand is who we are. Now, your people represent your company. Don't get me wrong, right? What we're talking about branding, that's dollars. That's a percentage of your sales of what trucks and trailers and uniforms look like. But it's the presence that those have each and every single day. Marty, I've seen your operation. You've got brand down better than
Yeah.
I do, right?
Oh, I don't know about
It
that. We You do a
Well,
great job.
it looks great. And we did have to go through a little bit of a brand transformation when we bought a pool company 4 years ago. So we bought another pool company. We were Hidden Creek Landscaping. They were Capital City Pools. Now, Capital City Pools had an amazing name and they were doing great. They didn't need to be rebranded. And this is where some of Jason will come out, and anyone who knows me is listening to this is going to be like, yep, that's Jason. I wanted it to be Hidden Creek. I didn't want Capital City Pools. I'm like, this is mine now. Let's get it under our brand. Hindsight's 2020. I didn't need to do that. I could have left it as Capital City Pools because it had a great name. But I did change some of our company image to, instead of Hidden Creek Landscaping, now we're trying to look at ourselves as Hidden Creek, dropping the landscaping, because 26 years ago when we started it, we were just landscapers. We're not. We're customer service representatives specializing in outdoor advancements of your property, right? So we're not just landscapers, whatever you need us to be. So we do pools now. So we've started to really embrace the Hidden Creek. We started to change all of our trucks to the green color, because I'll be honest, when all of our trucks were white and all the other landscaper trucks were white, everyone can afford to logo over top of white for about half the cost. When you decide to make your entire truck green, that costs twice as much. That's the commitment to brand. That's me saying, I don't want anyone else to copy me. They're not going to spend the money I spend. I'm going to spend more than everybody else, because when my truck rolls down the road, I don't want it to look like 10 other competitors of mine. I want it to be the only one. And I'll be honest, we get a very large portion of our leads every year from trucks alone, because our trucks look
I
different.
believe it.
So brand
Right.
is important.
I believe it. And what advice do you have for the little guy that's listening, under $1 million? How far do you take that? I think it's important to have a logo. Sometimes I see some of the aces in our smaller groups. They may go to the ACE Summit and they see somebody like you running a $24 million a year company and all your logos, and then they go out and buy $5,000 worth of nice clothes for themselves. I mean, how far do you take that? Where do you stop?
I guess the thing I can recommend the most, because it's tough when you're small, you can't afford a lot. It's really the
Yeah. No,
commitment to
right.
saying, it's not just a logo, this is who we are. And it's never stopping that. You have to believe in what that logo is, and believe that someday, even at 500,000, believe you're going to be 5 million. And the only way to get to 5 million is to make sure that people recognize that brand. Don't change it every couple years. Don't get fancy with it. Just stick to what it is and make sure it's uniform.
And I think there's some things you can do, whether you're big or small, that don't cost a lot, like having clean trucks, having your guys look good, making sure your job sites are neat. Those are certainly ways to stand out, and they're part of the brand too. And as we both know, Jason, an integral part of the brand is your team and their performance. As a business owner, what was the hardest thing for you to learn? Was it grasping financials? Was it tough conversations with team members? Was it realizing you couldn't do it yourself anymore? What were some of the challenges that you had there in getting to where you are today?
I mean, every one you said were tough challenges. I've got 5 more probably to add on top of it. But I would say the thing that is very unfortunate in our business is, there's a book by Michael Gerber, The E-Myth, right? And there's 2 types of workers, right? And the type of worker that eventually says, I can't work in the business anymore, I have to work on the business, is the biggest game changer you're going to have. But it's the hardest thing to commit to. And I was very fortunate, and having the business partner that I had, that luckily we both kind of went different directions in what each one of us transitioned into. And I saw the business side of the business really being the way we were going to grow. Now, I love hard work. I'll be honest, I dropped out of landscape architecture and went to landscape horticulture, because I said, I'm not sitting at a desk all day long. The last thing in the world I want is a desk. Give me the field, give me my calluses, give me a cool big truck, and give me a nice suntan on my neck. And I currently sit at a desk about 10 hours a day. I do emails and letters and all kinds of things. It's not what I wanted to do. I didn't think. But what I did adjust to, which is still the hardest, is learning that financial piece, learning balance sheets, learning how to do a budget, learning what a P&L is, and not just for the company, per project, understanding things like gross margin. I hired consultants to come in and help me because I was just ignorant. I didn't know it was a big deal. And I'll be honest, I didn't think consultants did anything besides charge you money. And when they came in, I had certain standards for my consultants that I used, which I said, I need you to bring me things. I don't need to talk. Can you give me a form? Can you give me something to follow? I'm good at direction, but I'm not good at my own creative ideas in that world. So that's still to this day, financially, I'm still learning. And
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's not, my degree was in business management from the University of Dayton, and I didn't do real well in the accounting part of it. And that's mine as well. I've struggled with that as
yeah,
well.
and I ask and I use my peer group constantly for that type of
Oh yeah.
advice because all of us, not all of us have the exact same background, but pretty similar, and we're all asking each other the same question.
Yeah. No, they
So
are.
it's
Right.
that's a great resource for me as well too to still try to get over that barrier. But like anything, I can't say I'll ever have success in that because financially, the bigger we get, the more questions I have.
So you make me think of something. So obviously you have a very good wife and a wonderful marriage and kids that like their dad. You're around them. Your wife was a part of a pivotal point in your life and your business career when she said, what are we doing? I'm assuming the business wasn't providing enough financially at that time. It obviously is now. Um, and you've probably seen them, we're not going to name names, but we know folks in our peer groups that their spouses are not fans of the business. And normally that's because the business isn't doing well and the owner, be that the wife or the husband or the spouse, your partner, whatever it is, your significant other, they're not communicating with the partner or the spouse, significant other. And there's a lot of animosity built up. Your wife must love Hidden Creek now. And she's in there working one day a week, which I'm envious of that because I think that by your wife being there, she's learning and picking things up just organically that probably help her cut you some slack when you need it. Am I right?
Cut slack. We'd have to go back to a definition of what that might look like. Um, and it's very true. I will say what my wife did for me, and obviously, when you're young and in high school, you don't really know what life's going to give you later on. But she's really good at holding me accountable, and every good owner should be held accountable and hold people accountable. That's one of the toughest words out there, obviously, in today's world, right? Someone said today in an interview, everyone wants to be held accountable, but do they? A lot of people really don't. But
No,
she
they
held me
don't.
accountable at early stages of the business to make sure that I was spending proper family time. But what I learned from her kind of coming into the business was funny. When she first walked in, I think her first 3 meetings that she and I attended together, she looked at me, she goes, wow, you're not that nice. I said, what do you mean? She's like, you're just you kind of were like you're on top of everybody. And I said, well, but did I do anything wrong? She goes, well, no one came to the meeting prepared. No one had their notes. And after 30 minutes, you got up and walked out because you're like, I don't have time for a meeting that no one really came prepared to. So I said, so was I mean or was I just matter of fact? And she's like, well, matter of fact, but you need to work on your delivery. So she helped me, still coaches me, holds me
Yeah,
accountable.
big
But
time.
in the
Right.
beginning, I would say those are some of the things that she made sure to do that she made me do the family time.
And Jason's so helpful. Who's going to tell you that?
Someone who loves you or cares about
I
you.
mean, Matt would maybe tell you that, but that's
Yep.
it. And I could see where you'd shrug Matt off and be like, "Well, Matt, that's your side of the business. You got to let me do
Yeah.
that. This side." When it's your spouse and telling you that, that's tough love, and that's
Yeah.
good.
And she's good at the tough love. I'd say, as I always
Yeah.
joke, as a nurse, she's the most loving nurse you can
Oh,
imagine.
that's a great
But by the
point.
time she gets
Right.
home, she's like, yeah, it's gone. Now let's get real. So
I love it. So you're a big company. I know you're part of the LM 150. You're an amazing brand, awesome book of clients in Columbus there. But in talking to you, Jason, I still find your story, your company, how you do things very relatable. I just think that anyone, whether they're 300,000 in sales or 300 million, they can relate to what you do. What do you think is relatable at Hidden Creek to the $1 million company? Like, what are you doing that all companies could be doing? Um, Share with us some insight there on, because I think sometimes I know myself, and we were having a conversation before we went live about a client that you have that you're going to make a presentation to, and it's a very large job. And I asked you what they did, and they do something rather unique, and I was like, wow. And I sometimes when I run into somebody, not anymore, but when I was in my 30s and I would run into somebody that was really successful, I would almost be like intimidated to the point I think my brain shut down. Like I just didn't think my little landscaping company related to them in any way, shape, or form. And I just felt inferior and I didn't really take anything up. I don't think that's what Hidden Creek is. I think it's very relatable. Talk to us about that.
Well, that's a huge compliment. So I really appreciate that, first and foremost. So,
Well, you deserve it. I mean, I've seen how you treat people and I've seen what you do.
well,
So
it was, and I say this all the time. And again, obviously it's only an opinion, but most people don't go into landscaping to get rich. Most people don't say, I can't wait to have a $20 million business. And I can tell you, when Matt and I started it, we thought, man, when we do $1 million, we're going to be rich.
right.
You're,
That's so
thanks for
true.
laughing at me.
That's so
Because,
true.
at a,
No, I mean, I was the
yeah,
same way. I remember I said, gosh, when I make $100,000 in a year, I will have made it and I'm done. I mean, crap. If all I made were $100,000 right now, I don't even think I could afford for gas to come
God,
over
no.
here.
And
So
I remember talking to my
yeah,
financial advisor, and I was like, I'm going to retire at 55, all these things. And,
yeah,
he's just laughing me out the
right,
door. So I
right.
thought,
That is so
yeah,
true.
we thought we'd make it rich. We thought all these things. And I will say, when you go into landscaping, though, or at least for, again, probably a big majority, we really love the work that we do. And I will say, the more that clients get to see that you truly are passionate about your trade and passionate about your people, that doesn't matter if you're 100,000, if you're 50 million. Your clients and your staff, team members have to know that you're passionate about what you are actually providing, right? I still battle with my procurement on what's the best plant in this area, if it should be shade tolerant or not shade tolerant, because I took the time to get my education and learn those things. I go to continuing education classes, right? I still sit with my designers and say, if that were my house, I don't think I'd want the tree there. I think I'd want it over here, right? And I go to my accounting and say, I don't think this invoice is the most presentable. If my wife were to get this invoice, she would call with 4 questions, right? So I still know that when you're 100,000, those things I brought up still matter at $1 million.
Yeah, they do.
So it's really the
Right.
level of care that you put into it. And the more you care about it, unfortunately, that's sometimes where passion versus intensity change, right? And I can tell you, I get intense when I know this is going to come back to bite me. When
Yeah.
we've sold
Right.
something we shouldn't have, when we gave away margin, I know that's a problem. But when we sold with all the right intentions, knew our numbers, presented properly, were honest with the client, then there's a great chance that both the client and the company are going to win. So when you're small, all I can tell you is think big, right? Shoot higher wherever you can, but 100% be loyal to your commitments, to your clients, to your team, to yourself. And that's it. Because if you start to break your own promises, you're going to be broken. And I can tell you, there's never enough time in the day to do anything. And everybody has this one thing every day, everybody has the exact same of, and that's time. So what you do with your time is critical. But again, being smaller to growing bigger, it is learning how to be efficient with your time. And I'll be honest, that's why we built this facility. We needed to find a way to be more efficient.
Right. And how has that, let's talk about that. How has that facility helped you? Why did you do it? Because I think it's brilliant what you've done. And if you don't tell the story that I remember, I'll remind you of it. But tell us why you built the building.
It's honestly one of my favorite stories. And unfortunately, I gotta name someone's name who's, I mean,
Yeah, well, go ahead. You
so
can
big in
name
the
them. It's okay.
industry. And someone actually had
Right.
a letter on the wall from him, which was Frank Mariani, because I had a vision of building a building where I no longer had to go to a client's house. I was tired of the dogs jumping on me. The husband showed up 30 minutes late and he didn't know that a project was happening. Um, The kids are yelling and screaming, and here it is, 6:30 at night. My wife at the time is paging me on my pager. When are you coming home? Where are you? And
Right.
I'm like,
Right. Pick up juicy fruit gum on the way
yeah. And I'm
home.
like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to lose my marriage.
Right.
I'm not doing what I want to be
Yeah.
doing. So I said, let's build a facility where clients come to us, that I'm in control. They're on my turf. I don't forget the design. I don't forget the materials at the office. And I went to Frank Mariani, who obviously one of the most successful residential high-end landscape companies there was in the US, in Chicago, working for people that have the kind of money I've never seen before. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, Jason, I don't think it's going to work. Rich people really like their houses. They kind of expect you to cater to them. And like all good business owners, I said, well, obviously that's a terrible opinion, but I appreciate it, right? I'm going to do it anyway, because what do
Right.
you know?
Right.
And
Right.
at the time, to be honest, we were a $3.5 million company. We were small, and we had this idea, and we met with architects, and I told the architects, this is what we want. And we didn't tell them what to draw, what to build, because that's their job, which, by the way, I wish clients would trust us to do their design for them and not tell us where to put everything. But, everyone has their opinion. So we had an architecture firm come up with a beautiful building, a beautiful package. And sure enough, we opened up those doors just a little, it'll be almost 10 years in December. And it has completely changed business for us. I can tell you from when the second the clients park in front of our permeable paver parking lot, planters that are 15 feet tall, walkways, logos, brands, flowers, everything. They hit our design center, they see what we've got, and they're like, this is going to cost. This is different. So no minor leagues, no amateurs. Like, we just walked into the professionals, and it sets the tone. And yes, I'll be honest, we've had the Ferraris, we've had the Porsches, we've had the G-Wagons. The rich people, they don't mind. And
Yeah.
they come. Now, we still follow the process. The first meeting is at their house. I want to see what they drive. I want to see access to the yard. I want to walk through their house, see what their kitchen looks like, see what their dining room looks like, understand their decor, understand their fun money, figure out the last vacation they went on to understand how much money they like to spend on the things that are important to them, and then get to their yard and then say, by the way, and they already knew this, second meeting is required to come to our facility. And once they do, we always ask for the third meeting. Where would you like the third meeting to be? Oh, we're going to come to you. This is so much easier.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
we had to prove to people, because at first they're like, well, can you do 6:30 at night? And I said, well, let me ask you this. If you lost cable tonight and the game is on this weekend, and they said you need to be home Thursday between 1 to 5 o'clock, could you be home for that? Well, of course I could. I said, so I'm pretty sure if we're going to spend $500,000 in your backyard, you can afford me 1 hour in the middle of the day to come to us. And they're like, yeah, you got a point. We'll come to you. That's fine. So
Jeez.
you got to be deliberate about it. You got to make it part of the first initial phone call so they understand. And it works. I'll be honest, we don't get every single client. It's not 100% success, right?
Right. Right.
I'm doing a sales call tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I'm driving our specialty van out there to show these people what we're all about, because they got 4 young kids and they got sports and they just couldn't make it here. So a sale is a sale.
Right. Yeah, you do what you need
That's
to
right.
do. You mentioned a moment ago about time. Talk to us about how you manage your time. I know that you're involved in strategic planning, you're in our ACE groups. Talk to us about what you're doing, processes, procedures, outside uses, books, consultants, whatever. Talk to us a little bit about how you're keeping this all together.
So by nature, I'm super easily distracted. I was not great with my time. I was not great with.
That's natural, by the way, for a lot of
Thank you.
entrepreneurs.
Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely squirrels. So I had to learn some tricks along the way to try to keep myself organized. I'm better when I'm busy. So I did have to use certain things. I'll have to just give a quick little plug here. I use my full focus planner.
Yep.
Michael Hyatt. Yeah, Michael Hyatt.
Yep.
I think I'm on year
Michael Hyatt,
number
yep.
4 with him. I write
Yep.
out my big 3 tasks every single day. They're put together. with the little items I have to get through, I try not to leave my office till those are done every single day.
Right. Which is extreme discipline.
It
Love
is,
it.
and it's hard.
Yeah.
I
Right.
threw other things into the mix with. I ran the Boston Marathon 11 years ago, so I had to find a way to train in the middle of doing a landscaping company and having a family and coaching my kids. And so I forced myself into saying block strategy time. So my calendar is my life. I made a very good decision to get my wife Hidden Creek email so that she could put every single thing in my calendar that was relevant to the family. She will not put her anniversary in there. That's all on me. Uh, and I did learn a good trick from you. So it's actually in there a week early. So I do not forget. Thank you for that.
Thank you. You're
But I
welcome.
use my calendar to really control my time to find the efficiencies and inefficiencies. And when I look at my calendar, there's times I'm super stressed. I'm like, I'm not going to get anything done today. I got meetings all day long. But it also helps me then to delegate some of the things that I realize are not a priority for me, that aren't going to push the company forward. Now, someone else can do that and push the company forward, but it doesn't need the CEO or the president of the company making that decision on that little thing. So the efficiency that you have to have when you're in the field, when you're estimating, when you're designing, when you're digging a trench, you still got to carve out that time of the day to say, I've got to do something to push the business forward. So those top three things every day, you got to find a way to push your company forward. So that's one of the things that I can't say it makes you efficient. What it does is it makes you accountable to those things that will push your business. And you have to find efficiencies in the day to make sure you have time to do those. And that's the hard part because those can't get skipped. You can't miss payroll, right? So all of a sudden you're like, I got to go collect money today because I got to make payroll on Friday. So, but if you put that 2 days earlier, that would have taken that stress off of if I don't collect this money today, I gotta call in some help. So I would say utilizing your calendar as much as possible, delegating. There's a term we use in EOS called delegate to elevate. So
Delegate to
yep,
elevate.
you're never
Okay.
going to elevate yourself out of your role if you don't ever give some of the stuff away that you do, because
Yeah.
people's
Right.
tendency is to give you as much as they can because that means they don't have to do it.
Yep. Jason, this has been awesome. I've got so many notes that you've given me. I got 5 things here that I want to go do. I definitely want to get my wife a Grunder Landscaping email. I don't know why I never thought of that. That's just dumb. So that's one thing. Let's get to grow. So February 2025, we're going to be at your place. Why should people come to grow with regards to Hidden Creek? What are they going to learn? And then I also would like to know what you're struggling with, because I think sometimes people think we pick grow hosts because they're perfect, and you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You and I have spent many hours talking about the things we've got that we're struggling with. But what are people going to see when they come to grow?
So hopefully what people can see really is the fact that we were a normal company like everybody else. Again, we started with nothing, and we started as bartending at night, going to classes during the day, right, and landscaping on the weekends. We had our shirts off, we were getting a tan, and yeah, we had chewing tobacco in our lip. We were as unprofessional as possible, right? Just typical guys, but we did realize what success could look like. And so I'm really excited to show everybody that this really is what we are. Everybody has the potential to be this. And Marty, you know this, there's guys 10, 15 years younger than me that got companies bigger than me. And I'm like, man,
I
how did
know
they
it's
do it?
incredible. I know. I say the same thing. I look at them and I'm just in awe. We have guys like that in our peer
Yeah.
groups. It's
and, and,
incredible.
and they still
Yeah.
inspire me to this day.
Yeah.
What the biggest thing that I think what people will see when they come to us, right, is what, again, we tried to create what I would call a world class type of facility well before our time. We were visionaries.
Right.
We knew that if you build it, they will come.
They will come.
So
Yeah.
we knew that
Yeah.
what we could do in our type of facility, it's good looking. We picked the right materials. We were smart with our money, and we made it very client friendly.
Oh, it's laid out beautifully, efficiently. I mean, the office you're in is beautiful. I can't wait to show it
It's the
off.
number one recruiting tool for us.
But it's very functional. It's not an ostentatious place that you're going to come in and say, "Oh, well, Jason did this on an ego trip." It's not like that
No,
at
it
all.
really wasn't. And again, when we did it, we had to borrow a lot of money. Think I told some people, I mean, we had to put our life insurance policy on the line without telling our wives about that because, man, it was a
Right.
shot in the dark, right?
Right. And you know what, Jason, the more I talk to successful people like you, they all have a moment like that where there was some angle like that where they laid it all on the line and it
There
worked.
is a point most owners say they take all their chips and they just push them to the center, you know? And sometimes it's going to be, is it black or red? You just got to go for it. So we did do that. Our facility is fun. It's got a lot of culture in it as well too. So it's not just what the
It
facility
does.
is; it's what we put on the walls that help to inspire. It's the brand that you'll see with every corner that you turn. It's the efficiency that it brings to how we sell, how we close, how we present to our team, how we train our team.
Right.
It's the OCD I have out in the backyard to make sure everything's got its proper place. I'm not
Right.
OCD at home. I'm quite bad at home, I'm told, but at the facility, I like things where they're
Yeah.
supposed to go.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So that's what we're going to be able to deliver. And I know that my team, when they heard about this, I mean, first it's yes, then it's oh,
Yeah.
and then it's
Whoa. Yeah.
yes. It's been a roller coaster of
Yeah.
emotions because they're pumped to be able to see the kind of enthusiasm we bring to the industry. And that's what you'll hear from each and every one of the people that speak and present is how much they first and foremost, they love what we do, right? And then second, they love who they work with, right? And they want to be part of this success. They know that, as we've doubled in 4 years, yeah, that's coming again, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
how are we
Right.
going to do it?
100%
I'm,
it is.
I'm
That's
like,
right.
don't worry about it. We got this. So I think that's what when people come here, they're going to see how much fun we have. It's a work hard, play hard atmosphere. They're going to learn, and really, I'm an open book, as I'm sure you've seen. I try to give away as much
Yeah, you are.
information as possible
You
for
are.
people to skip as many steps as they can. And I've had other people in the industry do the same for me. So that is a complete give back type of attitude. So those are great. When it does come to the struggles, oh gosh, Marty, I mean, trust me, by February, we have a countdown. Like
Yeah.
every day, guys, let's fix one of our problems that we have. Um, and we're currently trying to get some of our software in place. We've had software issues for 2 years. We really finally decided to dig in deep with our current company we've been using for years, and we're all in. But man, trying to do that in the middle of the
Yeah.
season, you got to have
No, I
focus.
get it. It's tough.
So
It is.
software is going to get fixed. Our CRM, we're trying to get that back in line again so that we don't let clients slip through the cracks. Our renewals were terrible
Right.
last year. Please don't ask me that on stage. If you could avoid that, that would be wonderful.
Okay. I might be asking you
I
that
know.
now.
We're making mistakes every single day. I have my days where I take a little walk outside just to take a deep breath and say, Jason,
I do the same
we're
thing. I
we're
understand.
no one died. We're not saving lives
Right.
here. We're doing landscaping. Let this just brush off. Call the client back. You know, give back the money. Write that off. Whatever it is, because your name, your brand,
Right.
your
And just
image.
turn the page and get back on the
That's right.
horse.
So we
Yeah.
have a lot of mistakes. Those are the biggest ones that are jumping out to me now. But I can tell you, we're looking to hire some new people right now. I think they're going to be huge additions to what we are. And I think when I talk about how we're going to keep growing and doubling, they're like, well,
That'll be a part of
they're
that.
a part of that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking bigger than I've
Yeah.
ever thought before. And I do that through my mentors and through a lot of my, peer groups as well too.
So you mentioned peer groups. Share with everyone the experience you've had in our peer groups and what that has done for you.
So just like you, I'm an extrovert. I can't help it. I just love people, love talking to people, love every opportunity to meet people. But when a lot of people were talking about peer groups, it for some reason it just didn't excite me. Um, I just didn't think that that was really my thing, and so I was pretty against it, to be honest. And so I'm like, I'm not paying money to go sit around and hear a bunch of other people tell me how to run my business. That's not my thing. But I had a really good friend who did a facility tour and he was just adamant about how helpful it's been for him. And I was like, that's great. Good for you. So happy. Still not my thing. And he just was persistent I think he actually almost signed me up without me even knowing that he signed me up for it. By the way, we're still very good friends. We were texting earlier today about we're both trying to get in better shape, and we're texting each other how much we each weigh and how much we've each lost in the last month. But he pushed me into it, and I did it. I did the ACE Discovery in New Orleans, and I've been to plenty of conferences. I've been attending Grow already for years. I've attended the NALPs and all that, so it was always fun being with those people. But when I got to the peer group, they put us in a group of people that were smaller than my company at the time and larger. And it was that made it so fun, that it was a pretty equal sized group, and we were in the same struggles and we were pushing for the same thing. And I'll be honest, the group that I'm in now, it's been, I think, just about 3 years, and they talked about, well, it's time to switch it up. And the group's like, yeah, we don't want to consider that as an option. We understand the policies, but we'll be friends for life. I mean, these are guys that we text, and if someone's going through something on a personal side, the group's there for it.
You're there to help.
And if it's on a business side, it's, hey, I interviewed this guy, or, what do you think about this? I mean, I use them. They're almost part of my leadership team. They're not here at my meetings.
Yeah. And I understand.
But they don't like it when I do my visits, because I come back with, a page full of notes about, guys, guess what? We have a whole new direction.
Guess what Gene and Chris are doing down in Texas.
Yeah. And these guys, because we're a competitive group, and I'll be honest, I bet you most groups have a pretty good competitive little push to it.
Yeah. Spirit.
No one wants to beat the other person, but they do. They want to push themselves to get their numbers. They want to be on that bar graph and be like, that's where I am today. So it's one of the most fun competitive things that I had no idea was out there. And now that I'm in it, I can't ever see not being a part of it.
Well, and Jason, you deserve immense credit. You're an open book. You're very transparent in the meeting. You are constantly talking about the stuff you screwed up. I enjoy you immensely. I'm so grateful for you coming on and letting several thousand people get to know you a little bit better, and hopefully they'll be motivated to want to come see you in Columbus at Grow.
I'm going to be more excited and proud to be a part of it. I'm hoping that we get the biggest attendance ever. I'll be honest.
Well, we're going to do that.
We're pushing for it. That's my expectation of you, and hopefully that's your expectation of me.
It's going to be an incredible show. And I can't wait to show you off, because it's a very relatable story. And even listening to you talk about your family and your struggles and your life insurance you put on the line, the building, I hope people are curious about what that is. If you're on the Grow Show Powered by Steel on the YouTube version, there's some photos there we've got scrolling through, so you can get a little bit of taste of it. Jason, can't wait to see you. Thanks for coming on the Grow Show. We'll talk to you soon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the Grow Show Powered by Steel this week. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Grow Show. And if you can, give it a rating or share a comment. That helps more success-minded landscape professionals find us. And if you really want to help us, if you really want to help your buddy Marty, share this episode with your team or a landscape pro you know right now. You can take the episode and you can text it to them. Thanks for joining us on The Grow Show this week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grow Show. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And head to growgroupinc.com for more information and resources to grow your landscaping business. A special thanks to the folks at Steel, whose support makes this podcast possible and whose reliable handheld power equipment makes our jobs easier daily. We'll talk to you next week.